Hi and welcome to this Touchdesigner tutorial about how to transform a Stablediffusion output into a photogrammetry-like result inside Touchdesigner. This tutorial will be in two parts. The part on the left is the one you are looking at, and the part on the right will be available on my Patreon, and along with all the talks file related to it. So in order to build this, we are going to use Stablediffusion. I'm using the one through Automatic 11.11. I'm not going to tell you how to install it in this tutorial, but you have plenty of tutorials online to do so. Just so you know, like before having this kind of results, you will probably need to export several results in order to find the right settings to have the depth map. So basically the theory is to use the depth map and the color map to instance a UV grid of particles. So I found the best results are with picture with a kind of either a corner or where you can get like the side of the walls or the side of the picture in a way. If it's like really a frontal view, then it won't work as we won't get the side information. So let's jump into Stablediffusion now. So here we are in Stablediffusion, and in Automatic 11.11, first thing is a Stablediffusion checkpoint. I'm using the Dreamshaper 8 sieve tensor. You can find some in civitAI.com, where there's a lot of models to be loaded. This is my prompt, and negative prompt is there. I use the 35 sampling steps and a definition resolution of 1280 by 1280, and this is basically it, but yeah, you should play with it. Then we generate it, and once it's generated, we will head to devs, and inside devs we are going to drop down the image which just generated. So I'm going to drop it down, and once it's chosen, we can choose a model. I got like good result with res 101, and then we generate it. So now the thing is, right now we are generating a 1280 by 1280, so our point cloud will be 1280 by 1280 as well. So if we want to have a bigger point cloud, we should first scale it up. So we can go to extras and scale it up, scale 2, and then you choose the resolution of the size you want in your point cloud, and then you should do the depth maps again based on this one as and yeah, you have to choose as well like the model you want to use for the upscaler. So now that we have generated our depth map and color map, we are going to Touchdesigner, open a new project, and we'll start by putting down a constant chop, res X and res Y in channel 1 and channel 2. And the resolution will be 1280 by 1280, which is the resolution I used to create the depth map earlier. So I'm going to end it up with a null and call it null pre-res. Then I'm going to make a UV grid in order to make our instancing system. So I'm going to put down a GLSL top to do that. There's many ways to make a UV grid, but I think through GLSL it's kind of easy. So I'm going to copy vuv.st, and for color I'm going to output a vec4. Sorry, with vuv.st for A and G, which is vec2, and 0 for blue and 1 for alpha. And here I have my UV grid. I'm not going to go in theory in this tutorial, but basically a UV grid is a grid of X and Y based on the pixel. So the pixel on the bottom left is there, and the pixel on the top right is there, and so on. So this in common I'm going to put 1280 by 1280. And pixel format, I'm going to use 32-bit float RGBA and nearest pixel. And as you can see, the grid is like starting at 0. I want it to be centered, so I'm going to offset it by 0.5. For that I'm using a point transform top. So I'm translating minus 0.5 in X and in Y, and adding a null to the end, which I'm going to call null pos. And actually, this not really a particle system because it's not based on a particle but on a box. So in SOP, I'm going to add a box and add a transform at the end of it, and uniform scale I'm going to put 1 divided by 1280. So I'm going to use 1 divided by 1280, and this is going to go to a geo. In the geo I'm going to activate in instancing, and I'm going to drag down translate OP into null pos into translate OP and RGB. I'm going to add a camera, a light, a fong as a material, and then a render top, and for the resolution I'm going to use 1280 by 1280 as well, just because I generated a square depth map. I want to have a square render, but you can use whatever you want. RGB key and display as backtop, and then so we have our grid now. So this is our grid, and what we want to do now is to use the depth maps we generated to change the position of each box into the z-axis. So in order to do that, first thing we are going to import our depth maps. So I'm putting a movie file in, and I'm going to select my depth map. By a middle click button, you can see like the format is 16-bit float, 16-bit fixed mono. Be careful, it is at least 16-bit fixed, depending on the version you are using of Stablediffusion. I know sometimes it can export like 8-bit version, so sometimes it's two export, one 8 and one 16. So just be careful to select the right one. And I'm going to copy this and paste it, and to select now the color one. So the depth maps will be used for the z-axis and the color map for the color. And in order to use this as this movie file in as a depth map, I'm going to use a reorder, but first I'm going to put a level at the end of it, and then a reorder from the point transform after the GLSL. And in reorder, output blue, I want input 2 to be the one. And as you can see, we already have something in kind of 3D. We can zoom in a bit with the camera, and yeah, we have it. The depth map is making its trick. Now we can kind of play with it. If we augment the contrast or change the alpha, like, you can play with it like to get it more or less, yeah, you got it. I let you play with it. For me, like the depth map I have now, I think is quite good in this, maybe. Yeah, I'm going to slow down a bit the contrast. And after the movie file in 2, I'm going to add a null. And I'm going to call it null col or null color. And in my geo, in instance 2, I'm going to drop it to color OP RGBA. So now you can see in the background, at least for my the one I generated, there is this white foggy thing, but the depth maps didn't quite analyze it well, and because it's foggy, it's not working very well. So what I want to do is to get rid of this white part, and in order to do that, I'm going to add a threshold and movie file inside, and just select the part so I can get rid of the background. So I think now it's kind of good. In the common part, in the threshold, in pixel format, I'm going to use 18-bit fixed mono plus alpha, and I'm going to multiply my movie file in with it. So now I got rid of the white part, but yeah, the visual went to black and white because it the fixed layer is input 2 in the multiply, and it's in RG. So I'm going to put input 1, and I have my color back. Now I have something which kind of looks good. I think it could be good to add a bit of movement in order like to really perceive the depth of it. Of course, we cannot turn fully around it, as yeah, it's a depth maps. We don't have all the 3D data, but we can do a quick small turn around it. In order to do that, what I like to do is to set up a system with a circle as a path for the camera. And so yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a circle, sub-circle on ZX axis, and it's going to be a primitive. Adding a null to it, and in cam path sub, I'm going to drop down the null. Now the problem with the camera is like it's indeed, I can show you this way. So it's going to activate the viewer for this. The camera is actually on the path of this circle. If I change, you can see it's turning around, but it's not following any particular point. So I'm going to add a null comp, and in cam1 I'm going to say to my camera to look at the null comp, and the null comp is perfectly in the center, and maybe I want it to be outset here somewhere, so the camera will really look at it. So I'm going to put it a bit further, even in 1.2, and I'm going to offset as well the circle to 1.2 in the z-axis. And my camera, I'm going to get rid of the translate there, so I'm going to put 0. And as you can see now, the position is not good, but if I change the position of my camera to something like this, I have something which starts to look good. Maybe I can move a bit to the back, yeah, the null and as well as the circle. Of course, on your model, it's probably going to be a bit different. So I invite you like to play with it, to find the center of your composition, and to do things like that. Now we can see like which area the camera we like. So I think like from 0.67 to something like 0.8. I like it. So I'm going to add a LFO. And after this, a matte. And this LFO, I'm going, I want it, like right now it's going from -1 to 1, I want it to go from 0 to 1, so I'm going to do an amplitude of 0.5 and offset of 0.5, and now it's going from 0 to 1, and so in this math we say it like it's from 0.8 to something like 0.6, a bit more maybe. So I'm going to put 0.6 to 0.8, adding a null. Of course, yeah, for your project, you do what you want to see the amplitude of it. And I'm going to drag it down. Now it's way too fast, so I'm going to add 0.04 maybe. And yeah, something like that is looking way better. Maybe it's going a bit too much to the left, so 0.67, just a slight movement. And now maybe I could add as well top movement, so maybe 0.5 to -0.4, so it had a bit of diversity. What I would like to do is to have the camera when it's in the middle to be on top, and then go back to its original position when it's on right or left. So synchronized with the LFO curve, which change the position and the amplitude of the camera as the LFO goes from the left to the right. So in order to do that, I'm going to add a pattern. And this pattern, I want it to be the same length as the LFO. Right now the LFO is 0.04. So a way to have the same length as it takes for the LFO to do that, the LFO is doing 0.04 by 60 because it's our FPS. So I can do 60 multiplied by 1 divided by OP LFO1 dot R dot frequency, and no, not in a number of cycles, sorry, but in length. And in number of cycle, I don't want to be up and down, I want it to be only up. So it will be more something like that. And now if I chain my LFO with a lookup, I should have what I'm looking for. So as it goes, it will go up, and it will go down, and it will again go up. So it will make like some wave. And so it's going from 0 to 1, and I want it to be minus 0.2 to 0.4 to add a mat, and from 0 to 1 minus 0.2 to 0.4 or 0.1, adding a null on top of it at the end, and use it as my translate operator in the y-axis. So now it's adding a bit of variety in it, which is kind of good. Maybe I can go a bit down. Of course, I can add more light to it. So now it's a bit maybe too powerful, but I can switch it to be there. And so we have this almost photogrammetric depth map situation generated by AI. So thank you for watching this tutorial. This was part 1. The second part will be available for my Patreons, and yeah, as I told you in the beginning of the video, if you want to check it out, feel free, and otherwise I hope you enjoyed it and you learned something. Thank you.